Move over, Rock. You've had your dance. It's time to give X a chance. What's up, guys? Penguin CJP here, and we are back with the review of Mega Man X Timelines Issue 1. So it is finally time for X to be in the spotlight. It's on time this time, not an extremely long wait. I don't have the cover A. I was only able to get this cover this time, but that's okay. That's all right. Getting the actual issue is the important thing. But we can see from the preview from Classic Timelines what that cover would look like. So both of these covers were made by Edwin Huang. I hope I pronounced that correctly. They're very nice. Very nice. I always like it when they show like the internals of everything. But yes, Mega Man X is here, and according to interviews with the staff at Udon that Shadowrock ZX had, which, you know, I've just watched those reviews. So I don't know Shadowrock ZX personally, but his videos are cool. He interviewed some of the staff working on these comics, and they said that this is going to be the main focus. So, how's it hold up? It begins in the year 21XX with X, who is seemingly in his room in Hunter Base, which that is something I just want to mention about this issue right off the bat. Something that I really liked is that it just kind of showed more of how X's world works. Like, just small things, like getting to see X's room in Hunter Base. And this book is essentially adapting Chill Penguin, so like his stage and the fight with Chill Penguin. And the cool thing that I like about like the world building is, you know, they show X's room in Hunter Base. They establish that Chill Penguin was there in that ice stage, not only because he's part of the polar unit. I mean, obviously the polar unit would be in an icy area, but it's also because there was an excavation site there. Dr. Kane was looking for old artifacts, and that's why the polar unit was sent there to protect it in case any Mavericks showed up. So I really like that right off the bat, but X is in his room, and he's questioning just kind of his existence, mainly looking at the X-Buster, because he's wondering, why does he have it? What is his goal here? Is he meant to use it? And if he is, what is he meant to use it for? And he gets interrupted by Zero, who tells him that they have a mission. So they go to the navigators, which they have finally named the pink-haired navigator from Maverick Hunter X. Finally. I think in my What If X Was Never Built a video, which you can watch that. For those who don't know, I make Mega Man What If videos. I gave her my fanon name for her, which was Opera, because music reference and opera is short for operator. So, that's what I've been calling her. But now she actually has a name, Minerva. So, that's nice. They don't say it in this book, but the staff have confirmed on Twitter that that's what it was. Or X, whatever. But yeah, that's cool. So they go out to meet Minerva, and she and the other navigator tell X and Zero that the excavation site that the polar unit was advising, they sent a distress signal. And they're wondering what's going on with that, especially since the highway incident, because this does take place after the highway fight between X, Zero, and Vile, and also Commander Sigma going Maverick, that this seems weird. This might not be a coincidence. And X tries to question that, but Zero just kind of snaps him out of it and is like, well, come on, we gotta go. And you can see Zero's got like a smirk on his face. So they get sent to the excavation site, and they go through the level. Now, they do split up. Zero helps X. He was about to get hit by one of those bunny robots from that level, and Zero destroys it and tells X, yo, watch your back. I'm going to go on ahead, so we're going to split up, and let me know if you find anything. So Zero splits off from X, and X just kind of goes through the level. He finds one of those, like, lumberjack robots where they shoot those, like, spike things at you. They hit them with their axes, and X beats that. He goes into the one area with the bats, and where the light capsule is in the game. Now, in this, another cool thing is they actually explain what the light capsule is actually doing there. So instead of just finding the light capsule just randomly there, like in the game, X actually goes into a room where it was some sort of like data storage room, and when he turned on the console, it was playing a video recording by one of the Reploid researchers who said that Dr. Kane had ordered them here because he found readings that matched the capsule that X was found in 5 years prior, which is also a cool thing. The world building in this book is really cool. Just the fact that they even bothered to be like, hey, this is when X was found, this is how long it's been until this point. That's neat. And they did find the light capsule. They dug it up. And they put it in this room to do further research, as they couldn't find out how to open it. There was some data lock on it that they couldn't figure out. And obviously, when X walks up to it to see what it is, because, well, he knows that it's related to him somehow, it opens, and there is the hologram of Dr. Light, who tells X that if he has found that capsule, then that unfortunately means that the world is not in a peaceful state like he thought it would be. And that in this capsule is an armor part that will help X so that he can protect humanity and that he can hopefully bring robots and humans together. So X, now armed with the foot armor parts, is willing to try to uphold that, and goes out. They do actually show him dashing now, which he couldn't do before. They do a cool thing where earlier, when they first got here, they show Zero dashing away, while X can't do that yet, but now he can. So eventually, X makes it to the building where Chill Penguin is for like the boss fight, and he sees that the Reploids that were in there were frozen, and then Chill Penguin falls down. Now, X does not know that Chill Penguin's a Maverick yet. He asks Chill Penguin, like, what happened here? What's going on? And that's when Chill Penguin just reveals, like, yeah, that was me. Commander Sigma told me to do that. So, yeah, they fight. It goes as you imagined it would. Right before X deals the finishing blow, he apologizes to Chill Penguin, and Chill Penguin says right before he shuts down fully that Commander Sigma was right in being cautious about you. Then he dies. Now, one thing to note before they actually get into their fight, Chill Penguin does say that the distress signal was actually just meant to lure X and Zero here so that they could destroy them. But he mentions something about Zero being a defect. And that's not elaborated on. Not yet. We'll talk about that when we get to the actual story review. But Zero walks in afterwards, asks what's going on. X reveals that Chill Penguin went Maverick and that this was all set up. He then copies Shotgun Ice, but also it doesn't just copy Chill Penguin's power, his special weapon, but it also copies possibly some of his memories, or at the very least, the last communication that he was sending right before X entered the room, and it was to Storm Eagle. So X and Zero are going to deal with him, but X asks Zero, is this truly the path to peace? Is fighting really the answer? And, well, Zero basically tells him that he doesn't know, but you're fighting, and fighting means that you're not dead. So, doesn't matter in his eyes what you're fighting for, as long as you keep fighting. And then they teleport away, and that is the end. So, this is a fairly straightforward adaptation of Chill Penguin's stage in Mega Man X. It's pretty much just that. It is what you would expect an adaptation of that to be. Now, things that I do really like, as I mentioned while going through the story, is just the world building. The world building here is incredible. Just a whole bunch of little things sprinkled in order to make it feel alive. X having a room in Hunter Base. The fact that Chill Penguin's stage that he was overseeing was an excavation site, and that it being an excavation site is how they found the light capsule, which is why it was even there. That Chill Penguin was trying to lead X and Zero here in order to destroy them on Sigma's orders. That is really cool. I really, really like that. Overall, it's hard to really talk about anything grander than that. It's not like the classic timeline issue where it was sort of like a rough adaptation of Mega Man 11, but there were still a ton of differences. Here, this is trying to be a close adaptation, which the interviews with some of the creators did reveal that this series is trying to be the X series. They want this to be essentially Archie's classic Mega Man comics, but for X. A fairly accurate retelling of the game's story, but with added elements to make the world and the characters feel real. And I think it does a pretty good job of that. X is fairly in character here, especially for this point in the story. You know, he questions himself a lot about whether he's right or wrong, what even is his real purpose here. And considering the fact that, you know, this is during the events of X1, where he hasn't actually fought Sigma yet, which we don't know if this is in, like, the Day of Sigma timeline, where, you know, X technically has fought Sigma before, and that's why he has those scars, or if this is more of the classic, classic, not like classic Mega Man, but like the original game story where Sigma went Maverick, but X never really had that initial confrontation with him. Now, the dialogue he has with Zero, when he's like trying to figure out, you know, what could Sigma be planning? Could this be connected to that? You know, what is Sigma's deal here? It makes it sound like that initial confrontation with Sigma didn't happen, like in Maverick Hunter X and Day of Sigma. But I guess we'll have to see later, as they do show at the end of the book, that yes, X is getting a full comic series. Now, we don't know if this issue is going to be retconned, or if it's going to be canon, and they're just going to skip over Chill Penguin once they actually start putting out issues. We don't know quite yet. But yes, X is getting a full line of comics, and there's definitely a lot of things in here that will get explained. The one thing that I really am interested about is why Chill Penguin called Zero a defect. There's a lot of reasons that could be. Because Zero in this book, so one thing that a lot of people were a bit skeptical on was the fact that Zero would be teaming up with X in this comic series. Not just for this issue, but in the interviews, they said that this would be for other stages as well. X and Zero would be together. And some people were a bit worried about that because, well, the X series has an issue, mainly starting from X4 onward, that it focuses too much on Zero. Like, X4 is most of the plot revolves around Zero and his relationship with Colonel, as well as Repliforce and Iris. And then X5 is all about Zero possibly becoming the original Maverick again. X6, even though, that has a bit more focus on X because Zero was seemingly dead, there's still a lot of significance with Zero because of the Zero Nightmare, and then if you do get Zero back as a playable character, there's a lot of stuff with, like, Izok and him trying to get Zero. Like, Zero has a lot more presence in this series than X does. So people were worried that he might overshadow X in this comic. Now, I cannot say if he will overshadow him in the comic overall, because, well, this is the only issue we have so far, but for this issue specifically, I think they did a good job. It's clear that they are trying to establish that Zero is the seasoned veteran. He's the stronger one, typically. He's the better fighter. X is no slouch, obviously, but Zero is the more capable Maverick Hunter. But they also are establishing that Zero isn't as well-rounded as X is in other aspects. He doesn't question why they have to fight or why they have to go to the excavation site, what Sigma's planning. He doesn't really question any of that. He smiles because he gets to do more fighting. That line at the end where he tells X that he doesn't really care what X does, what he fights for, as long as he continues fighting, that seems to imply, with the smirk and stuff, that Zero just enjoys fighting. He just likes to fight, and that's why he does it. In his mind, it doesn't matter if you what you fight for, because ultimately the decision is you either fight for something or you die. So in his mind, you just gotta fight. You fight, you keep living, that's great. And I think we all know what that's going to, what that's leading to. Say it with me, everyone. What am I fighting for? Where he gets attached to Iris, and he realizes that line of thinking isn't necessarily good. But I like that. I like that they are establishing that early, because it is definitely going to be something that will be developed. And I also like him being here with X, because it will give more weight to him being seemingly killed by Vile. Because it's going to happen. It's supposed to happen. We know it's going to happen. And in the games, there's not really a whole lot of weight to it, because you don't get to be with Zero that long. Like, even in the Rockman X manga, where Zero is a bit more prominent, his death isn't necessarily emotional because you care for Zero. it's because X cared for Zero, and he's dead, and this is where he finally stops holding back. And having Zero show up this early is good because you get to see what he's all about. You get to become invested in him, just like X. So that's definitely going to make that moment hit harder, hopefully. You know, we gotta see how everything plays out. But yeah, overall, I think this is a really good adaptation. But that is also kind of the biggest drawback with this issue. The classic Timelines comic was more original. It was a rough adaptation of Mega Man 11, but it did its own things, and I really liked it because of that. And this issue, while it is a very good adaptation, it doesn't really do anything else. Good world building aside, like, it is pretty much just X going through the level, getting his boots, and fighting Chill Penguin. And then he's going to Storm Eagle at the end. Like, that is it. So, I don't know. I like it. I really do. But at the same time, I'm kinda hoping that they do some more interesting things with the full launch of the series later. And of course, we must look at the art. Now, one thing about the art here, which it is also done by Edwin Hong here. And I think Edwin is able to capture the art style of X very well. Like, this art is fantastic. The coloring as well is really nice. Like, I love this image here where X copies Shock on Ice, and you see him transform into the colors of Shock on Ice before reverting back to his regular colors. Like, that's such a cool like visual way of seeing X getting the power and the information. Like, it's nice. This issue just looks really good. Now, again, another thing, and here's him fighting the like lumberjack robot. But another thing, comparing it to the classic Timelines issue, I kind of liked the art in there better, and that is purely a subjective thing. But the sort of like pastel coloring there was just unique and beautiful. Like, it looked special. Like, it was a visual spectacle. And this is really, really, really good art that captures the X art style fantastic. But I wish that it could have done just a little bit more. Just been a little bit different in some way. I don't like being that guy. I don't. I want to take this for what it is, and for what it is, this is an amazing book, but that classic Timelines issue, I think that spoiled me just a little bit. So, in conclusion, what do I think about this? Well, I like it. I really, really do. I don't want this review to come off as me not liking this book, because I do. I genuinely really like this book, and for what it was trying to do, to adapt the Chill Penguin fight, it's incredible. Honestly, I think this is probably the best version of it. I have read the Irregular Hunter X manga. I have read the Rockman X manga. And I think this does that better than those two. I mean, Rockman X did give, like, some emphasis to the other Maverick Hunters, which, you know, I like that as well. But for a straight, like, adaptation, I think this is the best one. It gives an explanation on what the actual level was. You get to see more of, like, just X when he's not on duty. There's some great characterization and build-up for future moments here. Like, this is probably the best adaptation of that it could be. But my biggest problem is that's all it is. It is the best adaptation, but I really think it could have used something. Maybe if it had the chance of, like, getting maybe like 2 more pages, you could have done maybe something else with Zero. Like, I don't know, shown a bit more of, like, his skill, or the fact that he is, like, enjoying the fights a little too much, or I don't know, maybe you could have, like, shown some more things of the highway incident, because it was mentioned in this book, the highway incident and stuff, but none of it was shown, and I get it, I know. They were trying to get the go-ahead for the full comic series, which they're getting, and they are most likely going to show those events in the main comic. I get that, I understand, but I just wish this did something more. But for what this is and what we got, this is a fantastic issue. I would get it. If you love Mega Man X, you should get this, though. As far as I'm aware, this is the most popular of the Timelines comics. So if you haven't gotten it, you like, if you're interested in it, you probably already have it. If you haven't gotten it, get it. It's good. You will not be disappointed. But, like, as I said, I think Classic Timelines spoiled me. I wanted a little bit more of something. Just something to make this a bit more special. I am incredibly excited for what Zero Timelines is going to bring. It, as far as I'm aware, is a like in-between story. It's supposed to go over events that happened after the end of 01, but before 02, and that 1-year time skip, I think, if I remember right, 1-year time skip. It's also being written by Ian Flynn, who wrote a lot of the Archie classic comics, as well as Archie Sonic and IDW Sonic, which I am also a fan of. So yeah, that's going to be good, but or hopefully it's going to be good. I really hope so. But yeah, that is my review. So this is Penguin CJP.